Pusiga chief asks for security protection following violent clashes. Kofi Annan Road Safety Awards instituted to help curb carnage on roads. A call on all to prioritize proper waste disposal. And in Nigeria, President Buhari apologizes over petrol scarcity and power cuts. Good evening and thanks for joining us for News. We are live on GTV, GBC News and DSTV, channel 278. My name is Clara Mlano. I am Shirley and I'm Jonathan Intim who translates the news into sign language. The chief of Pusiga in the Pusiga district of the Upper West region, Naba Tambis Bwalung Kongwang, is calling for security protection in his palace. The chief made the call when he addressed the media this afternoon at his palace. The media briefing comes on the heels of a violent clash between military residents on Wednesday. 2 persons were shot dead while 3 soldiers with the 11th Mechanized Infantry Battalion based in Bazua sustained injuries during a gunfight at Babari, Waubula, a suburb of Boko in the Upper East region. Our reporter Peter Gangri briefs us on this development. Good evening, Peter. Hi.
Yesterday, that a lot of police and military personnel were deployed to his house. That they came to search his house, and it was like they suspected that some of the suspects were hiding in his house, and so they were there to search. And find out if there were some suspects hiding in his house. They were also there to search if there were some weapons that he was hiding or the suspects might have kept in his house. When they came and searched, but they did not find anybody. They did not find any of the suspects. Neither did they find any weapon in his house. And so, because of that, the chief thinks that he has been exposed to the general public, that he has nothing in his house to protect himself. And for that matter, he may be attacked by people. So that's why he called for that press conference, calling on authorities, calling on the security agencies in Boku to really send people or send the military or get him protection.
What is the current security situation in Boku?
This afternoon at that particular side, that's the highways, and so a lot of them were running for their lives. A lot of food, those chop bars, people were selling a lot of things there. A lot of them destroyed, but there was no casualty actually recorded. There is curfew 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. It's from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Though many people came out to continue with their business, but some of them were still afraid that because of the presence of the military and the police in town, so a lot of them were afraid.
We understand the injured soldiers have been flown to Accra for further treatment. Can you confirm this to us?
That is, actually from the municipal chief executive, he said that, some of the military who were injured have been flown to Accra for medical attention.
You mentioned the municipal chief executive. MUSEC, have they had any meetings so far on the security situation?
There was a meeting with the security, the military, the police, and after which they deployed a lot of them to the various vantage points to ensure security.
And that was our Upper East Regional correspondent Peter Gemgre on the renewed gunfighting in Boku. Moving on, the president said road accidents must be treated as a global pandemic and assumed equally a more proactive and responsible attitude to deal with it. President Akufo-Addo says increasingly the exposure of pedestrians and motorcyclists and exposure to risk of road traffic casualties in the urban areas can no longer be overlooked. He was speaking at the maiden Kofi Annan Road Safety Awards in Accra.
Road traffic crashes has not only maimed but sent hundreds of thousands of people to their graves prematurely across Africa. Ghana is no exception in this tragedy, with over 200 people perishing in the first 2 months of 2022. Whilst alive, former UN Secretary General Mr. Kofi Annan led a campaign to promote road safety in Africa to ensure that roads in Africa cease to be graveyards instead of becoming a catalyst for development, and to ensure that the flame lit by Mr. Annan keeps burning. An award ceremony has been instituted in his honor, and the maiden one held in Accra.
Almost 20 years ago, in 2003, Mr. Kofi Annan presented in his quality as the Secretary General of the United Nations his first report drawing attention to the major obstacle of road traffic crashes. He was among the first to recognize this carnage as a grave international development issue.
Mr. Annan once said, "What governments and people don't realize is that sometimes the collective interest, the international interest, is also the national interest." Road safety is a collective interest. It is an international interest, and it is also a national interest.
President Akufo-Addo said the award ceremony has come at such a opportune time as countries are transitioning to a new decade of action for road safety.
My support for the institutionalization of this award ceremony comes from the fact that transportation in all its modes, and for that matter road safety, are bedrocks of national development. Indeed, Africa is the epicenter of global urbanization. The continent is undergoing rapid urban transition, with some 50% of her population expected to live in urban areas by 2030. Unfortunately, urbanization is often associated with increasing motorization and its attendant road traffic fatalities and injuries. This situation calls for creative and proactive thinking in order to arrest the negative impact of road transport. In Ghana, the government acknowledges that the current road safety situation is not satisfactory, but we remain committed to scaling up our investment in road safety initiatives and building partnerships that will help engineer improvements.
Africa's road fatalities per capita is the highest in the world, with WHO putting the number at 745 deaths per day. Some countries in Africa were honored for their contribution towards road safety on the continent. Edward Nyakun, reporting for GBC News.
Transport unions and drivers have expressed worry over the frequent increases in fuel prices. The commercial drivers are threatening to increase transport fares beyond the 15% agreed if the fuel prices continue to go up. At the negotiation table with the government recently, transport unions proposed a 30% increase in transport fares, but the government approved 15%.
Fuel na abana tosono. Uhwemu a eyesisi na osisi yan san se unim se obeto so a enhwema yento lorry fare so ansana asan abetum biem. That means nya ye no bibia ama ho mfaso bia ama so enti media nra ye panyin ba ko bekasa wo TV so se ni aban na ye no etumi so sisi yen o ma 15%. Say 15% no wasan ato so foforo biemu a okay ye no so yenye ndenti ye hwe nanim se wenya asempa bi anka nkyere yan e besa ato fair no so biemu.
Lolly fair amutimu 50%. You want to fool 3 times now. 3 times in ye. Ye hu ni enye. Ye ho kire papa. Ye hu ni enye wa blabo we mu. But ye ni bua phobia because aban no ka kura. No ye. O ka no de atoa. Ko say that wa for so no. Ye ni bua phobia, ye ni kama phobia be kama yen. Ene ye no ma ye di eti pempem. Eti blena na ye nyina ye bla ye go manu.
Fuel no price no too much. Abanye bebe mfa won emaye because say obey juma the whole day and the day utofu na scanning nyina asa na say juma na wo ye no wonya mfa so bia wo so ya mafu bebe obi mo wojere enimba because obebe juma obe clear ofie say obebe juma umfa hwe nko fie die na say wo di 3 fie kura po daya na kan fa so so
Now, petrol and diesel are selling between 10 cedis and 12 cedis per litre, while LPG is trading between 9 cedis and 11 cedis per kilo on GTV Breakfast. An energy expert, Mr. Kwame Jantwa, asked players in the petroleum sector to pay attention to the fuel pricing window in the wake of the frequent increases in fuel prices.
Be coming down between $97 and $100 from the $135. You ask me, why can't prices come down? It's because of the window. So the price for this window was priced at 140, 135, 140. If prices come down within this window, 97 to 100, we have to wait for the next window in April. So it still keeps prices
So
high.
the increase we're seeing in this window is as a result of increases in the window before this one?
Yes.
Right.
That's one of the challenges. So you ask yourself, we continue the price windows, and if we don't continue the price windows, the OMCs would skyrocket it because there will be no control on how they skyrocket the prices. The window of 135, it went up to what, 8? No, it went up to 8 cedis something. It's gone. In fact, it wasn't 135, it was 110, and it went up to 8 something. Within the same window, the price also shot up, and then willy-nilly the OMCs were also increasing their price, because remember, the OMCs and the BDCs, they have to buy the fuel, and a lot of the BDCs have to go to the banks for loans. The loans they are given are not dollar loans, they are cedis, so they have to change those cedis into dollars. If the cedi has depreciated, then it means they need more cedis to change to dollars to buy the fuel.
You're still watching News Hour live on GBC News. The United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has handed over a successful national reading radio program and its material aids to the Ministry of Education for onward distribution to related agencies. The child-centered reading radio program, which is in English and Ghanaian languages, is an educational intervention instrument that the U.S. agency developed to fill a gap created by the lockdown restrictions of COVID-19. The official handing over of the program took place at the head office of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, which is a major partner in the program.
The National Reading Radio Program, NRRP, was launched in 2020 as part of the Ghana Learning Radio Program, intended to mitigate learning loss that might result from school closures occasioned by the social distancing requirements of the COVID-19 pandemic in Ghana. The Learning Radio Program was broadcast nationwide on all GBC radio stations, local private radio stations, and community information centers. Statistics show that over the 18-month period, an average of 57% of the program beneficiaries, that is, pupils from kindergarten 2 to basic 4, moved up to higher English reading skills, which in effect means that instructional hours were actually not lost during the period.
Together, we set the goal to achieve higher reading achievement in English for levels B1 through B3, as well as in Ghanaian languages for KG2 through B4. The National Radio Reading Program made connections even while we were separated and apart during COVID. We connected with millions of children, families, and communities. At the end line of this program, an average of 57% of children moved up to a higher English reading level, despite the pandemic. It's significant as other countries, other students are falling behind. Here in Ghana, we had the ability for our students to move up.
With GBC being a major partner in this initiative, the Director General, Professor Amin Al-Hassan, pledged the corporation's continued support to ensure the continuity of the program.
Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, it is 6 years old now, has always had a mandate to do education through media. We started schools broadcast in 1952, and we were very delighted to have the opportunity to go back to our mandate that we were supposed to do. And for the service we rendered, for the participation, the collaboration we did with the Ministry of the USAID, we want to assure you that we are always available for further collaborations on anything to do with education through media.
The Deputy Minister for Education, Reverend Dr. John Ntim Fodwo, described the National Reading Radio Program as a rewarding educational tool. He said the ministry would make it a permanent part of Ghana's educational system.
We are grateful to USAID for this partnership and grateful to GBC for the support given. And we would want to assure you that our agencies, Ghana Education Service, SENDLOS, and Ghana Library Authority are all very ready and excited to own this and to take it further with the support of NTC and NASIA and NACA. We hope to be able to embrace this even into the repository of teaching and learning material and teaching apparatus that we currently have in our system, and to count on the continued support with USAID and GBC in this respect.
The National Reading Radio Program was initiated by USAID in collaboration with partners including the Ministry of Education, Ghana Library Authority, Center for National Distance Learning and Open Schooling, the National Teaching Council, UNICEF and GBC to improve learning outcomes in Ghana.
The Public Services Workers Union, PSWU, has given the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission a 2-week ultimatum to open negotiations for conditions of service for GBC staff. Its failure will compel staff of the public service broadcaster to advise themselves. Speaking to GBC News after a debate with the staff in Accra, the national chairman of the PSWU, Brother Ken Kodria, said the union has done all that is required of it since May 2021. He said the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has over the years used tact to delay opening negotiations with the union. Mr. Kodria said letters to this effect have been submitted to the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations and the TUC.
We felt that we should come today and have these issues addressed. These issues are issues that border on the welfare of the employee, GBC staff. I don't want to reiterate the issues, but the salary and category 2 and 3 allowance issue and staff condition of service issues are things that we must address. Not only that, the issue about union leadership also in GBC. And the meeting was very clear. Mandate has been given that we should do whatever it takes not to solve the leadership issues in GBC, union leadership, and also address the staff welfare issues. And I'm giving my assurance and commitment as a chair that I would ensure that these issues are addressed, and staff are giving me the mandate and the timelines and the support that I need to have these issues addressed in GBC. And that I'll see to it.
On an inspection of dredging works on the Korle Lagoon in Accra, the Works and Housing Minister, Mr. Francis Asensubuachi, said Ghanaians must practice proper waste disposal and management, especially with reference to solid waste. He said reducing, reusing and recycling is the way to go to keep an environment free from filth.
The Works and Housing Minister was saddened at the state of the Korle Lagoon during his inspection. The minister was worried with the indiscriminate disposal of solid waste into the drains and the ocean, which has dire consequences on Ghana's economy.
Costs a lot of money, and once it's government spending the money, it means that it's Ghanaians spending the money. It's our own money, and we cannot continue to spend our own money just because of our irresponsible behavior. Under no circumstance should anybody dump solid waste into a drainage channel.
Mr. Asensubuachi said civil and concrete works, including others, are being undertaken from the Ikwapim range down to Accra to reduce flooding, especially in Accra. He said government spends a lot of money to dredge periodically, monies which could have been used for some good cause. The operations manager for Dredge Masters, Mr. Kofi Adiapena, suggested measures to curb the menace.
So it's not just enough to clear the squatters, to put in a monitoring system, a control monitoring system where after the activity is carried out, there are some officials positioned to do a routine check to ensure that after the clearance, they map out a buffer area where no one is to come into that area.
The minister, following the inspection, engaged the squatters in the area and educated them on how throwing solid waste into the lagoon cost the country financially. Dredging the Odo River and the Koli Lagoon has remained an annual ritual for many years. Dredge Masters has been on site since December 2015. They say this phase will be completed in 3 months, and the dredgers say they are ahead of schedule.
Now, President Akufo-Addo has paid glowing tribute to Ghana's first female general in the army, Brigadier General Constance M.F.A. Jani Apenu. In describing the passing of Brigadier General Constance M.F.A. Jani Apenu as a great loss to the nation and the family, the President pledged to join the family to mourn and bid her farewell to her funeral on March 25, 2022 at Burma Camp in Accra. Brigadier General M.F.I. Jani Apenu died on January 24, March 2022 after a short illness.
The lady we're talking about has gone to meet her maker, very distinguished woman, very distinguished citizen, very well respected. I had a telephone call from Antonio Guterres on the news of her death to show you how respected she was in the global community, the Secretary General of the United Nations himself, and matter of considerable sadness.
President Akufo-Addo's high respect for Brigadier General Constance M.F.A. Jani Apenu, the first female to achieve this pinnacle in Ghana's army. The chief of Avetime traditional area, Osea Ajetepo, who led a delegation from Ho to the Jubilee House, said the late Brigadier General Constance M.F.A. Jani Apenu had plans to ensure that girls in the community attain the heights of education, but unfortunately, she was called home to give account of her service on earth.
We are proposing, Your Excellency, that a boys' dormitory block for the Avetime Senior High School be constructed in her honor. That will create the opportunity for many people in Avetime, many young boys in Avetime, to go to school and also to support your free SHS agenda.
She was commissioned into the Ghana on April 25, 1980 as a second lieutenant after 18 months of regular training at the Ghana Military Academy. After the training, she served as a platoon commander at the 2nd Battalion of Infantry in 1980 for a regimental training. She became the first woman to be appointed Deputy Military Advisor at the Permanent Mission of Ghana to the UN, New York till 2016. Brigadier General Jani Apenu also participated in UN peacekeeping operations in Gambat and Unifil 1984 and 1988. Edward Nyakon, reporting for GBC News.
The leadership of Parliament, led by the First Deputy Speaker, Mr. Joseph Osei-Wusu, has called on the family of the late Paramount Chief of La traditional area, Ni Pobi Tetechu, to commiserate with them at La in Accra.
The late Ni Dr. III was installed in April 1988 as the Paramount Chief of the La traditional area. He was the president of the La Traditional Council and served his community for 32 years. His contribution towards the development of the traditional area can hardly be overlooked. The Traditional Council has banned social gatherings ahead of the funeral of the paramount chief of La Traditional Area, Ni Dr. Pobi Tetechu III, who died on February 4th, 2019 at age 89. The leadership of Parliament, led by the first Deputy Speaker, Mr. Joseph Oseiusu, made a cash donation of 20,000 cedis and assorted drinks to support the La Traditional Council. The Member of Parliament for Dodo-Dio-Dio, Mr. Edwin Nilante Vanderpoy, said Parliament will support the Traditional Council in these trying times. Chiketele Ni Ajay Kofe, who received the items on behalf of the La Traditional Council, thanked the leadership of Parliament for their gesture.
Shinle papa ni amekewo yo amechano kuni amekewahi na kan shinle o hie gbejiano to emi olu o gbepamoji no ni hwe hie lewon amebashi wono oni wokefi. The week-long funeral, which commenced on March 14th, 2022, will end on the 20th of March 2022.
There's more to come in this package of news. Please stay.
evening and welcome. Time now for the business segment brought to you by MTN and Quick Credit. I am Dorothy Ajamai. The Internal Audit Agency and the Center for Local Governance Advocacy have launched the National Public Financial Management League Table in Accra. The league table will support institutions to comply with the public financial management laws of Ghana for improved accountability and transparency, comply and inject discipline among state institutions in the management of public funds. Creation and implementation of the National Public Financial Management League Table is expected to improve domestic resource mobilization and utilization, accountability, and ensure value for money in public expenditure. Its objectives include to reduce corruption, assess, rate, rank, and publish FM compliance level of state institutions. The board chair of the Internal Audit Agency, Mr. Joseph Windful, said democracy also means charging government with prudent financial management of the country, something Ghana has failed to do. The acting executive director, CLGA, Dr. Vladimir Ntwidanso, said the partnership between CLGA and IAA is a worthy contribution to the fight against financial complacence. Some disturbing development of persistent failure of SOEs to comply with reporting requirement under the PFM Act and failure to fully comply with the PFM Act by some public institutions are some reasons for the setup of the league table. The Director General, Internal Audit Agency, Dr. Eric Odrosai, explained how the PFMLT will be compiled with indicators along the 5 PFM cycle.
For us to know the extent to which institutions are fully complying with the PFM Act. So you will see Auditor General reporting cash irregularities, procurement irregularities, contract irregularities, and in certain cases in the MMDAs, abandoned projects and uncompleted projects are cited as irregularities. From our training as auditors and accountants, to the best of our knowledge, we could have done better in that regard. Because if the MMDAs did not receive the resources, how do we expect them to complete this project? We believe that this PFM league table will come in to streamline all of this and ensure that audits will be conducted along the 5 main PFM areas.
The Ministry of Finance has assured the IAA of its support to ensure that the Internal Auditor's Bill is passed into law. The Minister for Local Governments, Decentralization and Rural Development, Mr. Dan Botri, said indicators for the league table must be clear, transparent and involve stakeholder consultation.
By our laws, we will have an audit report implementation committee in each district assembly. And so if every quarter the head of internal audit unit you are supposed to prepare and submit a report, conduct of the financial affairs of the district assembly. And then after that you have to submit it to the audit report implementation committee. Where are these reports? Who reads them? Who checks them?
Ghana will be the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to develop and implement Public Financial Management League Table. The Deputy Commissioner for Policy Research and Programs at the Ghana Revenue Authority, Dr. Charles Adai, has said the widening of the taxness to include the informal sector is one area for revenue generation. According to him, Ghanaians can only appreciate the payment of taxes when taught at early stages in school. He was speaking at the 8th National Executive Council meeting for the Ghana Revenue Authority here in Accra.
What we don't have in Ghana now is tax education to people in schools. We are recommending and we are trying to bring that one to the educational system so that people will get to know from their initial stages in their education that taxation is not something that is illegal. It is a proper way of raising income to support the running of the economy that we have. Ghana is for all of us. The informal sector on average is covering almost about 60% of the economic activities that we have. But if you come to Ghana and we check how much we get from it, it's almost about something about 1% of the GDP that comes from that sector. I think it's not even less than that, 0.25 the last time that we computed. So the challenge that we are getting with the informal sector is that Ghana trying to allocate people and identifying the businesses that they are doing so that they pay the tax is so challenging, so difficult.
That's it for the business segment, proudly brought to you by MTN and Quick Credit. Coming up is the energy segment. Please stay.
You are live on News Hour. It's time for some happenings in the energy sector. I'm Dominic Honoji. The Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO, has suspended the withdrawal of field work services for 2 weeks pending the resolution of their concerns. The decision follows stakeholder engagement and assurance that the perpetrators of the attack on some staff will be arrested.
The staff of NEDCO in Tamale reported of a series of attacks on them by some customers in the Tamale metropolis and the Nanerigu municipality. The workers say they had no alternative than to lay down their tools and called for the perpetrators of the act to be arrested. This led to power supply challenges in the areas. Management of NEDCO had several engagements resulting in a 2-week suspension of the strike. A statement signed by the communications manager, Mr. Max Okutuka, said the suspension can be permanent only if the perpetrators of the attack on the NEDCO team at Koblimagu is arrested and prosecuted. The statement also called for the provision of military security for their staff while on field work. asked for the deepening of ongoing community engagement and education on the need to allow NEDCO staff to do their work safely. According to management, the issue is still pending and has called on the public to assist them in bringing the perpetrators to book.
Government's decision to reach the target of 50% LPG consumption penetration by 2030 seems to be out of reach due to the high cost of LPG prices in the country. The Vice President of the Liquefied Petroleum Gas LPG Marketers Association, Mr. Gabriel Kumi, said the objective is attainable if some taxes on LPG are removed or the product is subsidized. Mr. Kumi spoke with GBC News in Accra.
In 2018, the President and the Cabinet issued directive to the Ministry of Energy and NPA to ensure that we double LPG consumption in 10 years. Currently, as at the time, we were at 25% penetration level. His Excellency, the President, wanted us to increase penetration level to 50% by the year 2030. But unfortunately, ever since that target was set, price of LPG has been going up, and that is directly affecting demand and supply. That is why when that call was made, we also call on government as a commitment towards achieving, as an initial commitment towards achieving that goal, that noble objective. Government should consider removing taxes on LPG. Unfortunately, we are rather, instead of going up, we are rather going down. Because if you look at the statistics, in 2019, that target was set in 2018. In 2018, we were almost 30,000 metric tons per month on the average in 2019. That dropped to 29,000 metric tons per month in 2020. And this has dropped further to 28,000 metric tons in 2020.
We now bring you some data on national power generation, Ghana's power export figures, and water level in the Akosombo and Bui dams. Technology.
Welcome to the health segment of the news, brought to you by Lufat from Tobinco. The National Blood Service Ghana says it hopes to improve its stock of safe blood by converting family replacement donors to non-remunerated voluntary blood donors. This strategy, it says, has been proven to be effective to enable the service meet the targets at least 1% of the populations voluntarily donating blood. In its annual performance review held in Accra, it said the service failed to meet its target for blood collection, even though there was a marginal increase in voluntary blood donations. A report by Sarah Ofori.
Blood is an essential medicine, yet just about 6 in 10 per 1,000 population donates blood voluntarily in Ghana. This is less than 1% of the population. Although the trends indicate a marginal increase in donations in the year under review, it is still insufficient to meet the national demand. To increase voluntary donations, mechanisms have been put in place to convert family replacement donors to non-remunerated voluntary blood donors, especially among the youth. This is also expected to remove the bottlenecks associated with mobilizing people to replace blood.
So the family replacement, they continue to donate, but they are donating not to replacing or replacing blood for someone or as a pre-deposit for someone, but it is because they are donating blood as a serious responsibility. They donate to the blood bank, and when you're using a voluntary unpaid donor system, you can plan better. You can also meet adequacy because you have a lot of people are not. But when you run a family placement donation system, people also go and pay others to come and donate for them. Sometimes they want cheats because they say, I donated 5 years ago, so now I need my blood. All those things, we can curb them. And if we use a family place where blood is treated as medicine, it is really a medicine as far as the definition is a biological. So we get the blood and it is available as you go into like a pharmacy.
There are award schemes to also motivate such donors.
We continue to motivate voluntary donors. We reward milestones. So if you donate 5 times regularly, there is a reward, 10 times, 25th time, and there are different categories of motivations that are given out to voluntary donors. But the biggest motivation most of them would tell you they derive from donation is knowing that people wouldn't die because they donate blood regularly, especially the emergencies. Family members may not be available. So relying on family members means that we will lose a lot of the emergencies. Our voluntary donors have made this possible.
The National Blood Service Ghana mobilizes blood donor screening, collection, and processes blood into components. It also stores, selects, and issues blood and its components for recipients, and also performs immunohematological tests for recipients. The review was under the theme Keep the World Beating. Sarah Ofori, GBC News, Accra.
The health segment of the news was brought to you by Lufat from Tobinco.